Hello everybody, this is the John Crow, and in this short tutorial I wanted to talk a little bit about audio. Audio is something that we use to inform a lot of the experiences we create, and it can be a very powerful force in terms of eliciting emotion and feelings in addition to the visuals in your game. Initially, when you start working with the Sandbox, there is a global set of audio that is turned on through the global parameters under the ambience tab, and I've elected to turn mine off. I'm actually not sure how to turn off the global sound itself. So if you were to choose one of these default actions here, different sounds, the minute I launch the experience, so the tab key, I get that. So the problem is more like turning it off, which I'm not really sure of how to do that through the global parameters. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ambient sounds off, and I'm going to trigger them all inside of the experience itself. So the way I'm going to do that, I've got a couple things sitting in here which are not really relevant to our discussion. I'm going to start off by building a speaker component that listens for the avatar, let's say at the start of the game, and in that case triggers off our first sound or musical score. So for that, I'm just going to go and grab a rock, and grab a small little pebble rock kind of thing here, and I'm going to give it a speaker component. And the speaker component doesn't need to actually display any kind of text. All it needs to do, if I edit it, is to detect an entity that gets within a specific distance. A range of 4 is useful. Put this down kind of below the ground here. It's detecting the avatar, which is fine. And when it detects the avatar, I want it to play song 2. So I only want it to play once. I want it to detect once on launch, an init, if you will. And the message when spoken, we'll call this one play.song1. We then need to have our audio that's going to represent song 1. So for song 1 here, I'm going to grab another asset. I'll grab a speaker. A set of loudspeakers, like a little bookshelf speaker here, and let's go and attach our sound component to that. So we'll go into our components, we'll use the play sound component, and if we edit the logic behind it, the condition that's going to trigger the playing is not going to be play on start, it's going to be on the reception of a message, and that message required is going to be play.song.1. Get the text correct. At the same time, we want to be able to turn the song off. If I hit play right now, we don't get anything. And that's because I don't have a sound that I'm playing, so I need to actually choose a sound. Let's use something simple, use the oracles. I've got a tab now. We've got that working. Notice as I move away from the sound, it starts to fade out. And the reason that's happening is because the speaker is acting as a kind of center pivot, and if we look at the radius around that speaker, we're dealing with 3D sound, so the sound is fading from 100% to 0% as we move away from it towards a maximum distance of 4, and then it's turned off. I don't want 3D sound in this case, so we can actually change the logic to make sure that we're not playing 3D sounds. I also want to loop the track. These tracks play for approximately, I think they're probably about 3 minutes. So if you've got an experience where you're using that Oracles or that Heroes soundtrack, you want it to loop again after 3 minutes. All right, great. So the next thing I'm going to do here then is, let's say the character moves on somewhere in the quest, and we need to change the audio. This could be some kind of a victory that the character wins over a vanquished foe. This could be the death of a loved one. It could be the acquisition of a special amulet or a magical sword. But when you think about John Williams and you think about the Star Wars franchise and the Imperial March and the Princess Leia's theme and the heroic opening title track, they are leitmotifs that really kind of add some emotional context to what we're observing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use another speaker. This time, let's grab an LED speaker here. Let's put it over there, and we'll use this one to trigger a new sound. we also need to turn off another sound as well, the original sound. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to go use another rock. And place it down, let's use the small rock. Let's place it down right there. And we'll use the same strategy as before. We're just going to select our rock, we're going to add a speaker component. Once again, we're not going to display text off of that speaker component. We're going to detect the avatar, and as long as the avatar is within the range looking for, just bury it underground there, we'll let it be used as a trigger to play song 2. So when we detect the avatar within the 4-unit range, we're going to trigger the message only once, and we're going to play song 2. So we need to tell the speaker asset to play that song. So we'll go and add in our speaker component, the play sound component. Notice that the sound range on this speaker asset is much larger than on that default speaker, and it's because this one has some power gems or catalysts, I'm not sure which one is which here, added to it, and so it's giving us an elongated sound range that we can work with. This isn't really going to matter too much because we want this to be 2-dimensional sound and looping, of course. And let's say we move into an action area of the shot, so we can move to like an electro sound. And in terms of the condition for play, we want to play on our reception of a message, and this would be to play song dot 2. Yeah, that's correct. And we want this to be interruptible. If I wanted to turn this song off, the next song that I play would turn it off. So to make it interruptible, the message to stop playing song 2 would be to play song dot 3. And we can carry that same logic back to our first speaker here. So when our character walks over here, it's going to trigger the message play song 2, which is going to then get carried to this speaker, which is going to play the electro music, but then it's also going to send a message back, this play song 2, and that's going to be used to turn off this music here. And so if I grab this speaker asset and I navigate to the speaker sound component, I'm playing song 1 when the avatar sits within the range of the speaker component itself. It has to be interruptible though, and we're going to stop playing song 1 when song 2 is played. So it's interruptible there. That's good, that's good. And let's just make a third chain to this. Let's go and say we have a third song that gets triggered. Maybe later on we hit Act 3. So the same deal, I would go and use some kind of a speaker. Actually, I'll get my rock, which is very handy. There's the rock there. Go and look up another speaker. And this one is a big concert speaker here. This one. It doesn't have anything loaded onto it, no behaviors, no gems or catalysts in this case. What I'm going to do is add a sound component. And in this case, if I edit it, sound to play, maybe by this time we're getting some disco right near the end, we're having a good time. And we don't want to loop it, we don't want it to be localized sound. And we want to actually play on the reception of a message, and that message would be play.song3. In order to stop this song, we'd want to trigger the next song, song 4 in the sequence, which we don't have right now. But we're also going to use the trigger. So if we look at our rock, we need to put our speaker component down here, which again doesn't really display any kind of text. We're just waiting to detect the avatar inside of the range as it approaches the speaker asset. If I edit the logic, once the avatar gets inside of that range, we want it to only once send the message play.song.3. I think that should about do it. And again, we could bury this down here as well so we can't see it. So we've got our element set up like so. And if I was to try playing this now, we start off with the oracle sound there. So I move away from it. It's not 3-dimensional sound, so it keeps playing as though it's a background. And then we get into to this area here. And now we're playing electro music. It's not fading off at distance. Once I get over to this third component, we then turn off the second and add a new part. If we go back to the beginning again, I'm not actually triggering the first one again because I've only set the speaker component to trigger once. So that in a nutshell allows you a bit more control over what type of audio to play when in your experience. Of course, there's a limited amount of sounds right now, and we can only expect that to increase as the next versions and the beta versions of the Game Maker are released to the public. And in the meantime, I hope you were able to learn something from this video. My name is the John Crow, and I will talk to you all later.